All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. What we are seeing right now is clearly not your father's Detroit Pistons, as this franchise is not only making a case to currently be the worst run franchise in the NBA, but in all of professional sports. Now, the Pistons fired general manager Troy Weaver in May, while they fired head coach Monty Williams last month after just one season on the job. And that came on the heels of giving him a 6-year deal for $78.5 million last June. And now the Pistons are still on the hook to pay Monty Williams more than $60 million. Now, in spite of having the worst record in the NBA this past season, the Pistons had to settle for the fifth pick in last month's NBA draft. And it was a weak draft, okay? And the Pistons would select forward Ron Holland. Now, the Pistons' bad moves have just not stopped there, okay? We just saw Detroit as soon as free agency started. They gave guard Cade Cunningham a 5-year max extension for 226 million, while they just also signed veteran forward Tobias Harris for a 2-year deal for 52 million. Now, Detroit continues to throw away money on the wrong people, as this franchise has been plagued by bad personnel decisions now for 15 years and counting. The Pistons have not been the same since they traded Chauncey Billups. And of course, they traded Chauncey right after the sixth straight trip to the Eastern Conference Finals. But all jokes aside, okay, bad drafting, bad signings, and it's no wonder why Detroit hasn't even won more than 25 games in the last five NBA seasons, okay? The Pistons, in my opinion, just rewarded Cade Cunningham for doing absolutely nothing. Their win total has decreased each year in the 3 years that he's been with the team. He's only appeared in 138 games overall in his 3 years with the Pistons. And, for me, Cade Cunningham is a piece, but he's not the centerpiece. Okay. He's not a franchise player. And Detroit just turned around and paid him as if he was. To me, you look at Tobias Harris, and I mean, the folks in Philly will tell you, you know what, Tobias Harris stole money from the 76ers. He had that 5-year, $180 million deal, which he clearly failed to live up to. And of course, the folks in Philly could not see him leave town quick enough after this past NBA season ended. And, unfortunately for the folks in the Motor City, they really should not be preparing for a championship parade with these Pistons anytime soon. Because for me, clearly Detroit has been bad. We all know that. That is no secret. But if you are going to be a bad team, be a bad and expensive team, okay? And you figure the Pistons, they're taking on the contract of Tim Hardaway Jr. next season. Of course, Tobias Harris. That extension with Cade Cunningham doesn't kick in for the following year. But nonetheless, like I said before, if you're going to be a bad team, be a bad and expensive team. And this is something that I know that you got to spend a certain amount of money in the current NBA. I get it. But if you're the Pistons, why not, for the first time in a long time, spend it on the right people? Okay. The ball is in Trajan Langdon's court. He's running this front office right now as the Pistons team president. And these current moves, they're going down on his watch. He can't sit up there and blame Troy Weaver. He can't sit up there and blame Chauncey Billups. This falls, pardon me, not Chauncey Billups, excuse me, Monty Williams. But nonetheless, this falls into his lap. Now, he did hire JB Bickerstaff to be the next head coach, fresh off of Bickerstaff's firing in Cleveland. It was definitely not warranted. Uh, but let's see what Bickerstaff can do with this team. Clearly, not as talented a team in Detroit that Bickerstaff had in Cleveland, but you could clearly say that about Monty Williams as well. uh, when he was fired in Phoenix and he took over the Pistons. And you could also say that for Dwayne Casey, who was Monty Williams' predecessor, Stan Van Gundy, and so many others. Why? Because the Pistons have not been good. For me, what's next for the Pistons? I think it's going to be more bad basketball. It's one of those we're here in July, but it's very hard to get up and get excited to watch the Detroit Pistons play right now. Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars are not walking through the door anytime soon. And if they do, they're there to be honored for what they did 30 years ago and count or more now for this Pistons franchise. Now, the Pistons have won 3 NBA championships in their history. Clearly, they've had more seasons where they did not win a championship than they did win one. But I have never seen the Pistons not be this competitive for this long a stretch that they currently are. And here in the early stages of this offseason, between the draft and free agency, they have not given their fan base any reason to say, you know what, let's go out there and purchase some season tickets for the upcoming season. The one good thing for the great people of the greater Detroit area, I can tell you like this. You got the Lions, who just made the NFC Championship game this past season. The expectations are high for them. The Detroit Red Wings are coming back. They were on the verge of getting to the postseason, to the Stanley Cup playoffs this past spring. And anybody knows the Red Wings are synonymous, okay, with NHL history. And even the Tigers are starting to show signs of improvement. Um, you got the Michigan Wolverines, fresh off of a national championship in college football. And the folks there in East Lansing are hopeful that Jonathan Smith can get things turned around for the Spartans this fall. So luckily, the folks in the Detroit area, they got something to go off of because they are simply not going to get it from the Pistons anytime soon. This is a bad run organization from top to bottom. And from a basketball perspective, the folks in Detroit deserve a lot better than this. When will the futility end for the Pistons? I don't know. But giving Kate Cunningham a max contract and bringing in somebody like Tobias Harris on a hefty payday, that is not making things better. So I'll tell you like this, it's the beginning of July. The start of the next NBA season is about 3 months away, 3 months and change. But things, once again, ain't looking good in the Motor City for the Pistons. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.